Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel here on YouTube, where I've got the TNT takes for you on Australian Survivor Heroes vs Villains episode 9. That's right, we're back to talk about the top 5 talking points for this episode. But before we get into it, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that has been showing support for this content in the recent weeks. Please consider, if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing. It is absolutely free and a great way to support the channel. Put a like on this video as well and comment below with your own top 5 takes or any of your thoughts on mine. Moving on to my first takeaway for this episode, George has the option to take 2 people with him to a Survivor Secret Party reward, and they just went through a tribe swap in this episode, which means that his Spice schools were broken up. He said it's the worst thing that's happened since Ginger Spice left the actual Spice schools in real life as well, which I found to be really funny. But he is very bold in this move and does what I think a lot of other people may not have done. Some people may have chosen an opportunity here to mingle with some people and create other alliances within the game, but he knows who the people are that he can trust in this game, and he does choose Liz to go with him and Shani so they can have one last opportunity to strategize and talk about the game plan moving forward in this game. Now, the other really good thing about George choosing for the Spice Schools to go out there is that it does mean that they can look for an advantage or an idol without having to worry about hiding that advantage or idol, because they're all on the same page as to how they could be using it moving forward. And Shani does find the idol, finding his second idol of this season. Obviously, no one's aware of that first one, but that idol is going to come in clutch later on in this episode. So what an opportunity for them to get in there and get this idol. Now, Shani does mention if there is an opportunity for her to play the idol for Liz, she will do so if Liz feels like she is in the bottom of that tribe. Moving on to number 2 here, the new Villains tribe is absolutely stacked. Simon is like a kid in a candy store. He can't contain that energy and excitement because he's now joined the Meat Tray Boy Alliance in his mind, and he spends the afternoon at the villains camp sucking up to them and making sure that they know he doesn't want to stay with the old Villains tribe, and he is happy to work with them and be a part of that alliance moving forward. I do think Simon probably has a lot more in common with these guys as well, which makes it a little bit easier for him to try and create these bonds with this tribe. But they've already been together for quite a few days and have created some strong bonds, so Sean doesn't really want to take these villains with him into a merge situation. He's more than happy to get rid of them and keep the people that he can trust within the game, where he's got more control of that alliance. I mean, and at the moment he is the brain in the operation when it comes to the Meat Tray Boy Alliance. Jordy, on the other hand, what a coming out episode for him. He ends up being quite annoyed with this whole alliance, saying that now he's got to go and suck up. I found this to be some of his best content since he's been on Survivor, and he is such a likable character this episode as well. He has to go to Sean, gets his shirt cut up, so he's got a similar look to Sean out there, and he talks to David about his AFL days and how big of a fan he is. So doing all the right stuff to get in there, but I do feel like Jordy is probably in the worst position at that tribe at the moment, because Simon will very easily turn on him, and I do think that Jordy has more allegiances with the potential Spice Girls moving forwards, which Simon can exploit that easily to say, well, I don't have any allegiance to them, but Jordy does have good relationships with both Liz and also Shani, and maybe, I don't know, George, probably not so much at this stage, but that could be a wedge Simon could try and work into the game. Nina and Jordy obviously are reunited in this tribe, and it would be interesting to see if they are considering working together. We again don't get anything from Nina, which is very frustrating to have another episode where we just don't get her thoughts on anything, but he's in a lot of trouble. Also, Jordy gets this call from home here. Matt and Jordy both at the auction. Yes, we had the auction back. The auction's a lot of fun. All of the fans love Survivor Auction. Survivor US, please bring it back. But more importantly, Jordy does get this opportunity to phone back home because Matt sacrifices his own opportunity to phone home. And it was such a touching moment to see them put their personal lives ahead of the game here in this moment, which I really enjoyed seeing. We're definitely seeing the softer side of Jordy. He finds out that His baby on the way is going to be a son, and everybody celebrates it with him. It was such a great moment for Jordy. I'm still very worried for him, but at this stage, I will say if Jordy can survive until the merge and he can find his way back to that villain's tribe, I do think that he's got such a great story behind him to go on and become a winner in this game, because, you know, we know what his motivation is to be out there. I always feel like with winners, you need to understand what their motivation is, what their situation at home is, and who wouldn't want Jordy to win the game at this stage, because I just feel like he's such a top bloke, and I've really become a big Jordy fan. I'm probably an even bigger fan of Jordy this season than what I was last season, when he sometimes created chaos just for the sake of creating chaos. But he's become a bit of an anti-hero to me this season, which I really enjoy. Number 3, the Villains tribe do end up winning quite comfortably with their stacked tribe, having Simon, Sean, you know, all the Mitre boys almost there, except for Matt, who was the smallest of them. And then having that extra muscle really helped them. But they've also got Haley and Nina there. And Haley is an absolute gun when it comes to puzzles. So she does end up winning this for her in the puzzles, with George and Stevie clearly not communicating and being on the same page for the puzzle, and them having to go in and out with Benjamin swapping in. It was just a hot mess on the new Heroes tribe. They're pretty much going to be the hot mess tribe now, again moving forward in this game. But the Villains do end up winning this, and David has the opportunity to pass on some information to Paige, who was willing to work with George up until this point, but he says you need to target George. The boys want him out, and he's not to be trusted at all. She then goes back to camp, relays this information to Flick and Matt and Ben, and they're all on board. They want to get him out. And for me, I was severely disappointed in Benjamin this episode. Now, I know that online the fans have been loving what Benjamin has been dishing up, and a few people on the previous top 5 takes said that there was a better move to be made than targeting Shani in that specific position. He could have gone after one of the men, and he could have gotten the girls on board. I've said from the start, I just feel like the girls are too tight with the boys, but we also now here find out that Benjamin is seeking the approval of those guys. He's seeking the approval of the hierarchy that he just came from, the one that has put him on the outside. And to me, it was severely disappointing to see that he's not willing to shake things up. He's already at the bottom, but he's happy to continue to build trust with the people who already don't trust him, which to me shows that he's not as great of a player as people think he is out there. A lot of people have been overestimating his ability in this game, because, you know, Jerry, on the other hand, who they all talk to and about getting him on board for the vote, Jerry knows he's at the bottom. Jerry knows he's just lost Shani, and he's got absolutely no interest to go back to that hierarchy, and that is the right move to make. Jerry definitely going over to George and Shani's side. That's going to work out well for him this season. I'm very high on the Jerry stock. You should start buying some more Jerry stock if you can. Moving on to number 4 here. George comes up with a plan to create additional chaos, because earlier in the day you had Flick and you had Paige come to him and say, we need to get Benjamin out. They were gung-ho on getting Benjamin out. They don't trust him. And he says, we're not doing that. We're not doing the dirty work for them. We're going to go for one of the other heroes to continue to have division there in the game. And this is, again, just George understanding that when you create chaos, when you do this, when you're a disruptive force of nature within a tribe, it's going to implode around you. Now, George is definitely not going to be the person that anybody phones when it comes to creating a great team culture and a team building spirit within a team, but he will definitely be the last person standing after the carnage has taken place. So I'm all for it, and he wants to target Paige, which is a very easy sell to everybody out there. I mean, he talks to Stevie. Stevie gets spoken down to by Paige a few times. Like, you know, he comes in, he's trying to do things around camp. She wants it to be done a certain way. She was very bossy, which is never a good thing for anybody playing Survivor. You don't want to be the boss person around camp, telling people what to do. So when that option comes up for Stevie to vote against Paige, he jumps onto it immediately. Paige has just thrown Shani under the bus in the previous vote, so Jerry's got no problem with doing that either at this stage. And it was funny to see them all go and pitch Jerry with him just being like, it's a little bit too late to try and get me on board at this stage of the game. What can you really offer me? Now, takeaway number 5. Again, I said in the previous one when I did my takeaways for episode 7, there are levels to this game, and there are people that are legends for a reason, and then there are people who just don't have that game savviness. And Shani and George are playing so far above everybody else right now in this season. You know, Flick wasn't the mastermind in her first season. She's definitely not coming across as a mastermind this time. Matt, I've got no idea where his head is at. We've never really seen a confession. He looks like a nice guy, but I don't know if he's got the game savviness in him. And then obviously Paige, being a newbie, being so bad at the game at Tribal Council, after the plan is set, talking to everybody and whispering, saying that no, we're just making sure the plan is right and everything, and not including the likes of Shani and George, who remains very calm while all of this is going on. Just showed us the levels once again here. Shani noticing people going and talking to Jerry throughout the day. Shani has got such a great read and grip on this game right now. She's saved George twice up until this point. That you've got to say, you know, especially with the edit that she's been getting as well in this episode, I would have been worried if we again didn't see much content from her. But Shani is shot right back up to the person I think is winning this game, because she's got George ahead of her. If George gets taken down along the way, she will end up winning. And if she sits next to George at the end, she will end up winning, because I think she's a lot more likable than him. So very impressed with Shani's instincts. Great Tribal Council to play that idol for George and keep him in the game. And we as viewers and an audience have won, because George is going to remain in the game for a little bit longer. And I think this is going to frustrate that Meat Tray Boys Alliance to no end when they find out that George is still in the game, and that their Paige, the person who they knew they had in their back pocket doing their dirty work for them, that person is now gone out of the game. Anyways, that's my top 5 takes here for this episode. Let me know your thoughts, comment below, and I'll catch you guys on Thursday when we'll be doing at 8:30 p.m. Sydney Eastern Standard Time. We'll be doing a live recap and review of these last 3 episodes. So if you didn't get enough of me for my shorter form content, I will have some more analysis and maybe deeper thought going into that one, because I do these straight after the episode. And you guys always give me great talking points afterwards where you're like, why didn't you talk about this? Or you should have talked about that. And I'm like, oh, such great points. I should have, but I never really think about them when I do it straight after the episode like this. In any case, catch you guys next time. Bye.